Hey folks, Adam McIntosh here, and this is Creative Diary number 2, coming at you pretty quickly after the last one because I realized that I forgot to add some things to the last one and still kind of catching up on the previous year stuff as well. So before we get ahead of ourselves, one thing I forgot to put in, I said I would link drawings and I never did. So here are those. They're nothing special really. But just a few things that I've been playing around with. I'm slowly getting through the 100 Faces challenge, which is, if you're not familiar, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just drawing 100 different faces. You can find it on Google if you want. There's actually a bunch of different lists. Find one that you want to go through and just slowly go through them. I'm doing mine super slow. At least I've got no time frame on mine. I don't want to make it a job or anything like that. So slowly getting through those. That's been cool, just drawing them in all different mediums and different places and different notebooks and on my iPad and stuff. That's been really cool. And also just trying out different styles and stuff like that. One thing I did a lot growing up was drawing a lot of realism, or trying to. So I was able to learn a bit of technique and some anatomy, but I really didn't develop any style. And now that I've gotten older and coming back to drawing, that's one thing I really want to develop more of now. Outside of that, what else did I forget? I didn't really say what I was doing for work this year. I've been working in a bar for a big chunk of my week this year. That is what it is. A lot of people, I guess, who are in the creative industry end up doing that at some point or something similar. Unrelated to their creative endeavors. And I think I'll make a video on that at some point anyhow. There's a whole video in there about how to stay creative and how to not get too exhausted or to be able to use that environment to actually continue being creative. I've done it for long enough where I feel like I'm fairly successful in that sense. And then actually fortunate enough to where I've been working now is I actually do have a little bit of creative input through the management of social media and creating content for them, for the business, which has been really cool too, because it has allowed me to think about things in a way that I haven't necessarily had to do so much of before. It's also a lot of product photography as well, where, again, I haven't done a lot of it before this. So yeah, that's been really cool, and just wrapping my head around how to sort of present an environment or a business through its imagery and writing copy and everything like that as well, and trying to make sure that everything's family friendly or whatever you want to call it, because the responsibility goes through the business. It's, I'm not the person solely responsible if someone was to, see or read something that they didn't want to see or read. So yeah, that's been really interesting, and I've actually enjoyed that quite a lot. Sorry, I made some quick notes here, stuff that I forgot to talk about. But otherwise I haven't been freelancing a lot. I've been fortunate enough to continue doing some assistant work, which I really like. It's actually something I would love to do more of, because, you're working with different people, different places, different projects, different gear, and you just learn a lot. I love seeing the way that other people work. I think there's a little bit to be taken from everybody, and if you can do that for more and more people, I think you'll just become, you'll happen to gather like a lot of skills, and you'll be able to pile those together, and I think you'll be able to become a better worker yourself, What else? Other than that, working on my own street photography, came back to shooting more portraits with friends, which is one of the most fun things I can think of. It's going out with your friends and shooting photos. It's a win-win for me. So then you have complete creative freedom. You don't have a client or anything like that, so you can kind of do what you want. You have your own ideas. You're not on any schedule. Hopefully you have some good friends like I do who are willing to come out with you and willing to help out, and in return you can hopefully give them some nice photos and have a nice day together. So yeah, I'll flash up a few of those too, like some of the shots that we took throughout the year. Been super fun, and like I say, very fortunate to have those people around, my dear friends who help me get things done. Another thing that I wanted to show up quickly too is I did take some decent photos this year. I have to go over them, but I'm not certain that I took anything like super outstanding yet, to be honest. But some solid stuff, and if anything, I think I narrowed down a lot of what I want to shoot. So that's a huge positive. I think finding your style in any format is it's a long road a lot of the time, but with enough thought and enough practice time, you can speed that up a little bit. So I'm getting there, and it's all fun in the meantime. So yeah, I'm gonna flash up a couple of photos. I'll flash them up right now. I'll flash up two of my favorite photos from this year so far, and I'll continue to do that because I want to catch up on those a little bit too. And then so in the future videos, as they happen, I can bring them up and I can say like, hey, I went shooting this week and I got these, so there's that. And I can put my notes away. The other thing that I kind of wanted to talk a little bit more on is actually the weather. So yeah, don't switch off just yet. It's actually fairly interesting in a way. If you don't know, I'm living in Finland, so the weather here can be pretty extreme. It gets very dark and very cold. I live in Helsinki, which is the most southern point of Finland. So the further you go north, the more drastic it gets, of course. And yeah, basically, it's a kind of a struggle every year to remain energetic and motivated to continue, to get out of bed in general, let alone to continue creating. So for those who don't know, it can get to roughly minus 20 degrees Celsius here in the winter. It snows a lot, of course, because of that. And the winters are very long. So I think, I don't know, sort of you can guess sort of like 5 to 6 months. Of course, it starts off being very dark and rainy, ends up the same way, although it gets lighter, I think, after about a week from now, starts to get lighter. But I mean, it's always snowing and that kind of thing. So you don't really notice it. So the sun essentially, it comes up, but it doesn't really come up. It comes up for a couple of hours in the day. And then if you work nights a lot like I do, you sleep through that part and it's just dark all the time. There's a certain point in Finland that if you go past, the sun doesn't come up at all. It just doesn't actually break the horizon. And it's the other way around in summer too. It doesn't go down. So we do get like the opposite. It's the summers seem a lot shorter here. But yeah, I mean, it does affect you quite a lot creatively because, I mean, for example, for photography, you have less light all the time, so shooting outside becomes a lot more difficult, not only for light, but also because it's really cold and the weather can be pretty harsh. Right now, for example, it's snowing sideways, basically. And it doesn't really encourage you to go outside. I actually enjoy it for the most part. Especially for street photography, but then there's the other fact that people don't go outside, so you have less people on the street and that kind of thing. But the more the people that are, they react differently than on a regular day too. So that's why I like going out. You can get people in with different expressions and emotions and gestures and everything else like that. I think the darkness is the worst part, like mentally. Vitamin D is a big source of battling depression from what I hear and have read. So, you can handle the cold, you can dress up. The cold doesn't actually really bother me too much, but being in darkness for months at a time does take its toll on your energy. So yeah, keeping busy and finding things to do is super important, and trying to use it to your advantage too. But it just means you end up shooting inside a lot, or it's just the option of doing both is taken away from you. Like shooting inside doesn't seem like a bad thing if you also have the option to shoot outside. It's when you have the option of only one of those for a long period of time yeah, you might get a little bored or frustrated. It also means, like, just shooting portraits outside is something I love to do. I love using natural light, and people freeze in this kind of weather. It's not only do people get cold, but they actually they don't look great. No one looks great with a red nose and watering eyes and running nose or something like that. So if you're going to do anything, you need to do it quickly too. Yeah, so I'm just kind of mentioning that because it does play a huge part into my own creativity here. And I hope that if you're following me on social media and things like that, and I'll try to show some of the stuff too through my other videos, that you'll probably see the changes. You'll see these drastic changes in the landscape, and I think I'm going to try to definitely capture more and more of that out on the street this year, this winter. And yeah, I think that's kind of about it that I wanted to talk about. I hope that's interesting insight to you folks, especially for the people who don't live here, to get some idea of what it is like here. It's just the snow and stuff is just sort of starting to come on now. So hopefully in the coming weeks, we're going to get a whole lot more snow, and then you'll actually, weirdly enough, start to see it come through my work. Yeah, got my camera back. So far, no problems. I've only been able to use it for a short time, my new camera. So far, so good. They replaced the motherboard or something like that. So yeah, I think that's about it. I will leave it there. I'm actually going to leave you with another weird little thing that I made, I don't know, maybe like a year and a half ago. I was making these short little 1-minute videos because I wanted to get better at video editing. I'm definitely not great right now, but I'm still learning. And this is one way that I learn. I would encourage this. If you want to learn something like that, do it for a minute. The cool thing about doing something for a minute is that usually starting is the hardest part. And once you get going, 1 minute usually turns into 10 minutes or 20 minutes or maybe 4 hours. I don't know. I started editing the other night for what I thought might have been half an hour or so, and I sat there for like 4.5 hours learning stuff on Photoshop. So I encourage that. I endorse this message. But yeah, I'll leave you this one little 1 minute video. I don't know, it's not that cool. It was one of the early things that I did. It doesn't really make much sense, I think, but there's something nice visually about it. So for those who stayed and listened to the end, thank you, and that goes out to you folks. I hope you enjoy it. And yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Again, any questions, suggestions, whatever, put them in the comments box down below. I will answer questions and get to those things and continue the discussion in the coming videos. So yeah, take it easy, look after yourselves, and stay cool bananas. Peace.